What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to talk about 5 tips to improve your route running. Okay, these are 5 key things that I think all receivers need to do when they're working their routes to get some separation. Let's get started. So number 1, guys, we're going to talk about selling the fade, selling vertical. This is what we need to do every single time. Whether we're running a slant, whether we're running a stop like AJ Green is doing here, we need to make everything look the same. Everything is a fade until it's not. So let's watch this full speed, then we'll break it down. You see how fast AJ Green's able to run this route, and then he breaks down, gets in and out of this break, okay? Now, what does this do? He's coming out. How do you sell fade? Your eyes are important and your pad level is important, okay? So his eyes are going straight over this safety's outside shoulder, okay? We're trying to get him in this back pedal. We're trying to get him on his heels. We're trying to get him to turn his hips maybe and run, right? Same idea if he was on the outside here and he was running a fade. We want to be looking over the DB's outside shoulder, our eyes going vertical, and see how his pad level is very explosive all the way up until the break. His pad level does not change until he makes this break, and he drops his pad level, okay? That's the beauty of selling the fade. If we could keep the same pad level here, we are always a deep threat, okay? Same pad level. Our eyes are looking straight forward. We're not looking where we're going to break. Obviously, that's like day one stuff. But if we keep a good explosive pad level and we're running full speed throughout this route, we're going to be able to get some separation. Now, what else ties into that is our mechanics on our break, and we're going to get into that later, okay? We're going to get into that around the 3rd or 4th clip. Now, we got to be able to sell fade, and we got to be able to change direction. We're going to talk about that later. But selling fade is the first key to getting separation on any route, guys. We got to be running full speed. We got to be working our eyes, and we got to be working our pad level. Let's watch this thing full speed one more time. Selling vertical. Full speed, snaps it off, gets in and out of this break. See how long it takes that DB to bite on the ball, okay? So now the second tip we're going to talk about, guys, is a double move. How do you get separation on a double move? And that's your eyes. Your eyes are going to tell lies, okay? So that's what we're going to watch right now with Julio Jones. Let's watch this thing full speed. Breaks down, eyes, gives his eyes to the quarterback. That's what gets a DB to jump, guys. That's what we need to do. So, main thing, he comes up here, right? He's running like a stutter go, stop and go, snaps down, and now he gives his eyes, right? This DB isn't biting until he gives his eyes. See, his eyes are in the backfield of zone coverage, right? Eyes look to him. He glances back, right? That's going to get this DB to bite. If we're running a post corner, right? We're running a post corner. I want my eyes to the quarterback. If I'm running an out and up, I want to give my eyes to the quarterback. I want to give my eyes to the quarterback because that's what's going to make this guy to jump. Imagine if he just broke down and his eyes stayed straight forward. He would not jump at all. He'd stay in that back pedal and he'd go straight back because he knows he's not getting the ball. He's not giving a threat on like this comeback, or if you're running a post corner and your eyes are looking at the floor, looking straight ahead, you're not selling that you're a threat to catch this ball on a post, okay? So number 2 tip, guys, the second tip is we got to give our eyes to get some separation on a double move, okay? So everything ties together. We got to sell vertical. That's number 1. Number 2, we got to give the quarterback our eyes on a double move. Stutter go. If we're running a sluggo, we got to go 3 steps to this slant, give him the eyes, and then burst upfield up this seam, right? So let's watch this thing full speed one more time. Snaps down, eyes, gets him to jump, bursts off that break, ball's coming over the top, and yes, he did catch this thing, a little bit of a bobble, but that's a great catch. Okay, so number 3 tip here, guys, we're going to be watching Amari Cooper. Is this what I was talking about on the first clip? If we can sell vertical and we could go full speed and we have enough body control, we got to have violent hips to change direction, okay? It all ties together, okay? So we're going to watch this clip full speed. So Amari Cooper's here, selling slant, snaps down. Violent hips in and out of this break. Now, another thing I want to talk about. Look, everything ties together, right? Takes his jab off the line, full speed, look at his eyes. Eyes are looking back to the quarterback, right? Double move. How do we change direction? Violent hips, okay? So we're running a post when we make this speed cut. Our hips do play a factor. We want to be violent with our cut. We want to be violent with that stick. Running a curl, running a dig. We want to be violent with my hips. We want to be very explosive with my hips, okay? And that's what we need to be able to change direction. If we self-fade, if we go vertical and we sink our hips and we're violent with our hips, we're going to be able to get some separation, right? So he comes off here, bursts up to the inside, snaps it down. That's what I need, guys. Sink those hips, violent hips, and you see his shin angles, too. It's driving him in the direction that he wants to go. If he were to run straight up and run a dig here, I'd want his shin angles angled to the inside, and he'd be driving off the inside arch of this plant leg, okay? Now, another thing, guys, a way to think of this is bringing your chin to your knee. When I drop my hips, when I sink my hips, I don't want to lean back. I want to bring my chin to my knee or my nose to my toes. However you want to think of it, however it helps you process better. I know everybody thinks differently, right? But that's a way to change direction fast. We got to have violent hips, and we got to be willing to sink at the top of the route and be very explosive. So let's watch this thing full speed one more time. So coming out here, burst up, Violent hips. Sink those hips and change direction. The reason why I have violent hips is because this DB right here doesn't know when we're going to make this break, right? So if we could be explosive at the drop of a dime, in and out of a break, fast, he's not going to be able to react as fast as us because when you think about it, he doesn't know where we're going. We know exactly where we're going on this route at all times, and that's why having violent hips is important. So to recap, number 1, guys, we got to self-fade. Number 2, eyes on a double move. And number 3, we got to have violent hips. Okay, so now we're going to be watching this clip. He's going to be running a comeback. So the fourth tip I want to talk about, guys, is the snap down method. So let's watch this thing full speed. Now, you guys have probably heard the phrase, oh, I want to beat the drum, right? Now, beating the drum is great. Don't get me wrong. That's good for beginners, okay? If you're a young receiver, a good way to start out working your top of the route is beating the drum. That's a good way to think of it. I like that for younger receivers. I teach that to my younger receivers because I don't know if they're ready for this snap down yet, okay? But my older receivers, high school, college, this is what you need to do at the top of the route. And I'm going to talk about this. So, main thing is he's selling vertical, right? Now, it all ties together. Like I said, selling vertical. Now, when he snaps down, snap it down with the outside leg running this comeback. When we want to snap down, it's for breaks like a dig, breaks like a curl, comeback, like any type of route where we got to break down normally, right? That's when I want to work this snap down, okay? Now, he's going to be snapping down. This is a tough break to make. When you're 18, 20 yards down the field and you got to snap down and you get in and out of a break, 3 steps, that is a very talented break, right? So how are we able to do that? So this snap down step is a lot like the last clip I was talking about. You need to have violent hips. You need to bring your chin to your knee, right? This is an explosive pad level position that we need to be in. And if we self-fade, you see he's overcommitted. He's standing up. He's running right now. So if we can snap down rather than beat the drum and take 10 steps right here and allow him to recover and drive on this ball, that's when we get in trouble. That's when he's able to undercut this route, right? So we got to be able to burst upfield and then at the drop of a dime, snap down. Now, how do you get to this? You got to have great body control. You got to have great balance at your hips, and you got to have great explosiveness at the top of the route. That's the only way you guys can do this. I see a lot of guys try to do this soft, and what they do is when they come into this route, they pop up and they slow down. All that does is that makes this DB slow down, and when he slows down, he's able to react faster. So we got to be able to go full speed and then snap down. So the first step everybody loves to teach, bringing your chin to your knee, having violent hips, right? Explosive hips. Now, how do you get in and out of this break? I see people snap down and then they take 3, 4, 5 steps straight forward and they have slow hips out of the break. DB's able to recover, right? We want to get out as fast as possible. So he snaps down. You can see that second step is gearing him down, and that third step pivots him. Now, what did I talk about? That shin angle, right? That driving you, that plant leg is driving you in the direction that we want to go. He wants to go on this 45-degree angle. Now, look at this DB. He has to break down and stop, right? He doesn't know where we're going. We're already getting out of the break, so we got to make sure we drive out of this thing, okay? Now, another thing about the snap down is when we get to this position and we snap our head around and we're driving, we got to run out of this break, right? And so he's driving and he's running out of this break, coming back to the ball. He doesn't just stop right here and pop up. He's driving out of this break, coming back to the ball. That's a great job working 3 steps at the top of the route. So you see, snap down, pivot 2, drive 3. He's running out of this break, pumping those arms. See where the DB is? He's not even in the screen, right? Because he doesn't know where we're breaking. Sell vertical, snap down method, explosive hips, chin to my knee, but those second and third steps on that snap down are so very important. There's one thing you got to be able to do, self-fade, keep a good pad level. Let's watch this thing full speed one more time. So coming off the line of scrimmage here, snap down, 3 steps, sell vertical, 1, 2, 3. In and out of this break, accelerating out of the break, that's a great job. Okay, so now we're going to be breaking down George Kittle here. Now, another part, I factor this into route running, is your releases, okay? Because how are we supposed to get off the line of scrimmage into the route if this DB just presses us and we're done, right? So what Kittle does a great job of is having a plan for your hands, okay? Anybody can have great feet off the line of scrimmage, okay? I see it all the time. I see receivers, they work all these stupid drills that are just pointless, that won't tie into a game. Oh, they got cool footwork, though. But their hands just don't even play a factor, and all this DB has to do is punch him right in the chest and knocks him off this route. But his feet look cool, right? See, that's the age of 7-on-7 and 1-on-1s that I just don't understand, right? We got to be able to work our hands off of a press release, okay? So where do we do that? So you see Kittle works a little bit of this foot fire off the line of scrimmage. So a little bit of a hesitation, 1-2, head and shoulder movement, right? That's another key on this release, but we got to be willing to use our hands. So he attacks this outside for 3 steps, call this a little bit of a diamond release. So a diamond release is when you go 3 steps on this 45-degree angle. The goal is to get this DB's hips to open up and to open up this gate, right? And this DB doesn't really open up that much, but you see his base is a little close together. Now, what does Kittle do? He has a plan for his hand right here. He just doesn't go 3 steps and then try to break and allow this DB to recover by getting hands on him. He swats and attacks the back of his shoulder here, okay? That's a point of control that we need to attack with our hands. We got 3 points of control. We got the forearms, elbows, back of the shoulder. That's where we want to attack with our hands, guys. And if we have a plan for our hands, if we're physical with our hands, that's going to get us a lot of separation. That's exactly what Kittle does here. And you see, swats him off, and you see where this DB is. This is a very bad position for him to be in because Kittle was so physical. And you could say, oh, well, he's a strong guy. He's a tight end. This is any receiver. They call it a point of control for a reason, right? If we can swat a DB in that back of his shoulder right there, and we could be physical, and we can be aggressive with our hands, and we can be violent with our hands in either that elbow, back of the shoulder, or forearm. I don't care how much bigger he is than you. If we're violent with our hands, we're going to be able to get some separation. Now, if you're a really small receiver like a slot, that might be a different story. We might have to work our range and avoid that hand contact if he's a much bigger linebacker or a bigger safety coming down to press us. But that's a great job by Kittle working that hand technique. Let's watch this thing full speed one more time. So coming off, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Swat him in the back of the shoulder. That's a point of control. Then he bursts upfield, making this great play downfield. Kittle is very talented for a great job. All right, guys. Number one, to recap. Number one, we got to sell fade, okay? Selling fade is the most important thing, okay? Number two, I'm going to show you these clips. Number two here, we got to give our eyes on this double move. And then number three, we got to have violent hips at the top of the route. Number four, we got to snap down. I want it to be 3 steps. 3 steps, accelerate out of the break. And then number 5, I want to work my hands off the line of scrimmage. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. Please leave in the comments anybody you would like to see me break down next. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll see you guys next time.